Is this him? Must be him. Yay!
All right, mate.
I'm just saying.
I know.
So posh.
I know. I'm getting there.
You've changed. Now, have you done a wee? Would you like to?
Wee now.
Okay. Everything's good. I'm so. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I love doing this. Naturally, I'm always going to make an idiot out of myself. That's just what I do.
That's me as well. Tom Davis, hi.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you here.
It's lovely.
We are connected by so many kind of mutual coincidences. Our paths have so nearly crossed.
Ships in the night.
Yeah, it's quite funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Almost days or moments away from bumping into someone. I can't, we were, would you could say stable mates?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that.
Yeah.
Stable mates.
Yes,
exactly.
yes, right.
Nay. Nay. I was really enamoured by hearing your beginnings at school because my middle daughter is a very dyslexic.
Yeah.
And really struggled because she had a non-dyslexic older sister.
And the younger sister was.
And it was really difficult for her at school. And I think your story is so inspiring for anyone who's struggled. So what was that like for you going through school?
I think school it's a strange thing, isn't it? Because I think you don't really realise when you're in it quite how. Yeah, it's really till years and years later. To be quite clear, I think I knew the limitations, and I often talk about the fact that hope was kind of stripped away. And I don't know about your daughter, but I was sort of almost, I think, given up on at a very young age. I think times have changed slightly. I actually got a niece now who's dyslexic, and she's going through this at the moment, and you go, oh, maybe we're a bit more, knowledgeable about all this now. And then you hear stories and you go, well, maybe we're not. I think for me, I remember the first memories of school were I remember like the thing of not knowing things or not quite understanding how things that were getting told or with ADHD, what that is now, and struggling to understand sometimes what's going on, struggling, like knowing the answers or knowing the things that I wanted to do and not, but knowing then also limitations when coming to like being dyslexic. And then quite quickly, humour, even at a very young age, became a way of sort of masking how I really felt. So I remember like messing around in class. I remember a teacher hitting me around the back of the head and like, and then grabbing me and just sort of shouting at me because she was so annoyed. And I sat at the front of the class and I didn't even go home. The weird thing my mum said, like, I never went home and told my mum. It was another kid told his mum and then she phoned mine. And my mum was forever going up to school and saying that, he understands, but there's something happening here. And she wanted those checks done and no one would do them. But
oh, so they never tested you?
No. Later on in life, I've had that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think the thing for me was, I remember a teacher really, really vividly bringing me and another girl up to the front of the class. And I was the bottom student. She was the top. And her doing this whole, who do you think is going to get further out of life? And
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. And it's so you think that's probably, it's your informative years. So
how old would you have been when that happened?
I'd have probably been 10 or 11. From what, she was quite an interesting character. I think I'll probably say her name, Mrs. Craven or Miss Craven. And she was a sort of like, I guess in a way, like a bit of a hippie and sort of, but she, I think it's such an insane thing to say looking back, but I could tell that teachers never kind of like to warn. They see it as messing around and being silly, I think, but maybe then also thought he clearly understands and he's just pissing about. And I remember just being in the class and being called up and that being to the front of the class in front and
with another girl,
who was a nice
top
girl.
Top
of the class, very academic.
I'm not
too sure what she's doing now. I've never really looked into it, but
what's interesting is that she didn't choose.
No.
Well, wait, hang on. I mean, I was almost about to excuse her behaviour.
No.
To do that, to ask the class to choose who's going to be more successful in the future.
And I think that's the thing that school is, and I don't know about your daughter, I think that thing is like the academic process, and you speak to parents now, and one of the things that I'm really, really, we're working with the King's Trust now, and we do a whole scheme with youngsters who haven't necessarily performed very well at school. My thing is what we do for a living, the creatives, like I write for a living now, without being at all arrogant, and I write to a pretty high level.
Right.
But for a long time, you got to think it took me till 32 to start believing. It actually took me longer than that, really, to believe in myself. Even now, Ramesh and me talk a lot about this, and Ramesh is a very deep thinking sort of guy, and the imposter syndrome that never really goes. Your formative years, that's always going to be there. So all the success that I've been blessed to have later on in life and all the things that have happened to me, a lot of time you can still feel like that kid standing in front of the class, in front of your peers, all looking at you, knowing that, they think you're lesser than someone else. And that can happen, I think, quite a lot. And that's your go-to at any given time. And I think that's the sort of stigma that you're trying really to change.
Is there any part of you that can see that built resilience in you? Like, did it make you think, I'm going to show them?
Not that time.
No.
Not that time.
What did it feel like then? Can you describe?
I think, if I'm going to be really honest, Davina, I thought, no, she will do a lot better than me out of life. I thought, my limitations of what, and I say this really, when people say, oh, did you always want to be a comedian? Or did you always want to be an actor? And quite honestly, no, it was never something that, obviously I'd have dreamt of it. Sitting at home watching Fools and Horses or whatever, you'd be watching with your dad and your mum and your family. You go, cool, of course you want to, be Trigger. Do you know what I mean? Be the guy who plays Trigger. But that felt like a million miles away. And as a kid, I wanted for a long time to be a bin man. I thought that looks like a laugh. That looks like something I'd actually be okay at. They all seem like they have fun. And work on a building site, be a labourer or whatever. They were the things that, I was a chef for a little bit. I tried things. The resilience that was built in me from a very young age was, I was never scared of failing. I was never, because I was.
Did that come from failing?
Yeah, all the time. I was awful at most sports I tried. My dad jokes now. I was like, I remember going home to my dad and saying, I've joined chess club. He went, you don't know how to play chess? And I was like, yeah, but I'll just give it a try. And then I entered in a chess tournament and lost every game, and I got a best sportsmanship badge at the end. And but I was never really that. I just thought, well, it'll be quite fun to try. And it's a really weird thing now where I look at life and I look at young people, that every bit of that sort of the carbon fibre, I guess, in what makes you become the human being you are, a lot of that failing and a lot of that, that's not, but also the work ethic of having to get up and go to a building site. I think there is, and I hate the sort of way that we talk about it, because young people are going through a lot. They've had to go, but also there is an element of I think generationally things have changed massively. I think there's been a shift. I don't think people want to work on building sites anymore. I don't think people want to go and labour. I don't think people want to do what they deem as jobs that aren't as
glamorous.
Yeah, I think, we didn't have social media. There was such a sort of distance, it always felt, from being that person on television to being and for a lot of my life it felt like that.
And the only people that you really saw were the people on television or the people on the street doing the jobs.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have that thing of social media where everybody seems to be doing a job better than you.
Yeah, and we all fall into this place. Social media is a really dangerous thing. As a father now, I look at it, and look, I'm like you, right? We work in an industry where there's a certain element of what we do where we have to go, right, I try and be as honest as I can be, and as to how my life is and as transparent, but you are aware that the growth of the social media star, even in the time I've been in this industry, I'm like, wow, it's changed. The dynamics changed. There was I think Facebook was there, Twitter was just really sort of gaining, but there wasn't what you call social media stars. There were people who were television stars, and there's still a difference, I think, in what those two things are. I think I've gone way off the subject here.
No, but I mean, I do think when in terms of life, you're right about what you're seeking in life is very different now for young kids.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that people don't want to do the jobs. I worked in a restaurant for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was the best learning curve I've ever done. It taught me so much. Customer care is everything.
But you can see that in you as a performer. I know it sounds, but you can
isn't
see
it interesting?
the fabric. Yeah, but you can see that the thing that I think oozes from you is as a people person, right? It's the thing. I remember talking to Greg James years ago about this, actually. You think of that, I suppose, our generation of presenter, And like so many of the sort of grounding of that was restaurant work.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't social, you know, it was learning how to be around people.
And I learned about difficult people.
Yeah.
And how to manage somebody who's a bit arsey.
Yeah.
And I learned how to be polite when somebody was off their head drunk.
Yeah.
I learned how to calm the chef because somebody had asked for their lamb to get well cooked, and he was like, "I'm not doing that," and he's like getting all angry about that. And you know, these are all skills that I still use now.
But they're great skills. It's a really interesting thing of like, I look at the years spent. You know, like I spent long time working on building sites. I then was like, oh, actually, I might go and train and try and be a chef, and then. So I did that for like...
like building sites?
I love them.
Yeah, I think the social aspect.
The social aspect, the work ethic that you get to put as a learning ground, I found it as it's a really, like, there's a fallacy and it's like a thing that really annoys me whenever I get a part, or, you know, early on, like, you get a part sent as a builder and it would always be like wolf whistling and it's such a small minority of people are like that. Most people aren't looking out on the street ready to wolf whistle. Do you know what I mean? It's most people are grafting, knocking their pipe out, but also the different cultures of people you meet are different people. I think there's this, again, a misconception that it's just an entirely white sort of working class, and that's not true. You'd meet people from all different backgrounds, all from different places around the world. I think, you know, some of the different, you know, cultures that you come across are great. But I think the big thing was that work ethic of going, you got to show up if you don't get paid. I remember, you know, looking now where we are as a, you know, recession-wise and where we are economically. I remember, you know, I've lived through a recession. I've been in that situation where you might work 4 days a week, get to a Friday and go, oh shit, I don't know if I've got work on Monday. I have to go to a pub on a Friday evening and a Saturday trying to ask if anyone's got any work. You know, I never had a job interview until I got into this, really. You know, it was like meeting someone, hopefully, again, like you say, you know, your character was, if you seem like a person that everyone would get on with and you're a nice guy, people go, yeah, you know, you wouldn't sometimes have to work as hard if you could be a bit of a laugh. But it was a great grounding. And when I came into this industry, I think that above anything else was the difference, that I knew that I wasn't very well connected. I wasn't, you know, I hadn't had the necessary training when it came to sort of writing, English, university, whatever. I knew, like, the one thing that I had in my back pocket was I was ready to work as hard, if not, and like that, and get your nut down and graft. That was the thing where I'm like, right, that's going to be the thing.
How much do you think, Michael and I often talk about male hierarchy and how that works, that women don't do this really when they walk into a room. They kind of assess women, but there is in a room, Michael always says there's a hierarchy of men and there's like the alpha male. You can kind of, you're like assessing everybody. But like being tall, that must have helped you.
No, you've got a target on your back. There's an ilk of person that you look at and go, they're probably very good at sport at school. They've always had that alpha sort of vibe. They've always sort of commanded some sort of respect. Yeah, the jock. And I never fell into that camp, and never really fell into sort of what you'd say was probably like a boffin or a nerd. Like I sort of, you know, but I was very acutely aware, and a number of times when I was younger, that like being tall or being big and standing out, like it's a weird thing when you look now and go, like, you know, I remember being with Jack White or Virgin, like V Festival years ago, and Jack, but that had just popped, and we're good mates, Jack, and I remember him saying, like, at some point it'll pop for you, but your trouble's going to be, where are you going to hide? He had a cap down, and no one knew it was Jack, and he was like, you won't get it. And that's the thing of, like, when you're 6'7", you walk into a room, straight away people are gonna clock you, and there's no way around that. Yes. So you have to there go, right, okay, like, and it's one of those things that became invaluable as a stand-up in a sense, because I never wanted to be someone where, number one, you don't want people thinking you're coming in and you're a big alpha. That's not who I am. It's never been in my makeup. It isn't how I conduct myself. And
people feel like if they can have one over on the tall guy, like, you know. I
remember selling T-shirts and back in the day, and I remember being it was in Stratford. It was like a dance festival, and I remember just minding my own business and chatting to some people, and this guy just came over and he just ripped his shirt off. And he just started pushing me, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was off his head, but I was like, "What are you fucking? You're nut. What's going on?" And he's like, "Come on, big man, you want it?" I was like, "No, I don't like.
I really don't.
What part of this looks like I want this?" I was just standing here. But then you're also acutely aware that you kind of have to, like, and that's what I think, like, diffuse a situation very quickly without you can't just be like, you've got to.
Is that where comedy comes in?
Oh yeah, that my dad's thing to me was like, you're not going to be that person who goes in and you don't want to be a bully, but so you need to be the funny guy. And that,
Your
but
dad
that was
used to say that to
yeah,
you.
and it was
amazing.
how to sort of like, so people want to spend time with you was always like, I suppose in a sense I'm a people pleaser, but I was always very like dawned at a very young age that this is going to be the thing. Like, never in an idea of doing what I'm doing, but in any given situation, trying to just. I've always loved making, like, even when I look back at school, and I was never picked for any plays. I remember like being in a no. I remember like being background. Like, I think I was a tree or something, and
I was always
yeah, just at the back, and then I remember just seeing like a bit of the thing and like a bit of the set. And thinking, God, it's so boring standing on a tree and leaning on it, and the whole set fell down, and everyone just starts laughing and pointing at you, and you're like, oh well, that feels kind of nice. And that feeling of like joking and I think when you're on a site, they're long days, and I think if you can be the person who's doing impersonations of people or telling jokes and having a bit of crack, I think that's a really like important thing. I think it's I just did a film with Guy Ritchie, and I was like. Chatted to Guy a lot, and I adore Guy. He's like someone I find very, very inspiring. I find him an amazing person to be around. And we started talking about like the grounding of a pub and how important pubs, not just for alcohol and drinking, because that's not something I do anymore, but like how important that as a place of education about every part of like, like the matriarch who runs everything, sort of respect given, it's like to someone behind a jump is like everything. Do you know what I mean? She can control these alphas and whatever. Like for some unknown reason, that sort of portrayal of Peggy Mitchell, which was so bang on when you come from that environment. But actually, the sort of camaraderie, the laughing, the joking, the sort of like we used to drink in a place like a butter churn in Sutton, and it used to be one of those sort of. I used to love most nights, if I'm honest, Davina. I mean, that's a problem. I used to drink too much, but. I used to love that Friday, like finishing work at like 1-2 o'clock and getting to the pub, and it being like the different characters are different. That's had such an imprint on everything I've done subsequently. But the thought of being around people and making people laugh, that was the thing that I and you can fall away from that every now and again. You sort of, it's not always cool and it's not always sexy to be that person. You realise quite a lot of the time you're friend zoned or big sistered off. Yeah.
I'm quite interested in this idea. I mean, obviously, I've always thought that funny people are very clever. You can't be funny without being clever. When did you realise that actually being funny is a form of intelligence?
I think I still sometimes
doubt that.
Yeah, it's very strange, like, because coming from my way into this industry, like, there's a real funny thing. I don't know if you ever have this, that I always feel that I was so thought that I was sort of just a bit of a wally, that everyone kind of just assumes that they could do what I've done, and like you'll talk. The amount of times I bump into someone I went to school with or I used to work with, and they go, oh yeah, I might try stand up because it feels like you've done all right. Anyone could sort of do it. And you're like...
I mean, but somewhere in you must have known, no, it's harder than that.
Yeah, no, but also how much of this is luck.
I could never do stand up.
Yeah, it's...
I just couldn't.
But I regret, I stopped for 6 years. And it was like when we talk about... Like now, it's a really interesting thing when I look and this open conversation, and especially in the male space about mental health and where we sit and how we look into, you talk about the dyslexia was something that, like, if I'm honest with you, and this something I never like got diagnosed as a kid, because once I'd left school and I worked as a labourer, I was like, I'm never going to need to write again. It's just like, and I did weirdly, I'd write poetry, I'd write like skits, or I'd write things, but even now, like, if I'm on stage, a lot of my act comes from in the moment. It comes.
Does it?
Yeah,
So
I'll have a
written.
thought. I'll write bits down, but it's all about instinct and about, is this thing going to work? Is this thing going to... And so much of the time,
So clever.
when I write stuff, I go, oh, this is going to be the thing that kills. And I go on stage and I go, oh, shit, that's not worked as well. And if you're free in the moment and you go like, oh, I can go here with this, or I can go there. And then you just learn it in almost like when you listen to a song on the radio, it's like, okay, that's, the beats of the song.
You're effectively freestyling.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes, once you know the act's there, but it's the best thing in the world is when it breaks out and you think about, the worst thing in the world is when you've recorded your special and it's done, and then on the sort of second to last night, you go, oh shit, that's what I should have said, and then you come up with a bit. But it should always be evolving. I think everything we do, I think if you're locked down and you're confined into a place of like, oh, this is what it is, and that's what I was stripped to that for like 6 years, where like the anxiety and the mental anguish of.
Can I say something
Go.
very quickly? Do you mind me saying this?
No.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to say.
No, I don't know. No.
So you don't know if
That's
you
my
mind
own.
that I'm going to say it.
Go on.
Yeah, but I was going to say to you that you were just saying to me about the anxiety, but I would like to say about you, and I think people say the same about me, they just can't imagine us being anxious.
Yeah, at first I was fearless, right? So when I first started stand up, I was like, this should just be another thing I might fail at, and I worked hard at it. I grafted. I was very much like, this is something that I love doing. And all of a sudden, from having what felt like a very limited life, felt like, all of a sudden I was doing something actually, well, this is quite creative, and this feels more like, and a lot of people were still being like, oh yeah, well, what are you going to do? You're not going to make a living out of it. And I never needed that. I was like, yeah, but you know what? For like 10 minutes on stage, I'm able to do something that I enjoy, that's for me, and then you get a little bit of success, and you start, and then I had like external people around me, and what now feels like there was an ilk then of like, this is what a comedian almost looked like, and I wasn't that thing, and I was like getting sort of, and I was kind of like, Lee Francis, who's one of our really close friends, he's like, Lee had seen me and stuff through James DeFond, who was like a childhood friend, and Lee had seen me and stuff, and Lee saw something, and as James, obviously, I wouldn't be here without James DeFond, and it's probably the only few people that I get very choked up when I talk about, but I wouldn't have a career, and he saw that, and way before I ever did. I'll get more emotional talking about James than anything else, actually. But
lovely.
No, but it's like, as a male friendship goes, it's
best.
but he always had that belief, and it was unwavered and we've been through a hell of a lot together as friends and as colleagues. But that side of him was like, he came to every gig for like years. But
oh my God.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Amazing.
Like, incredible to have someone like that.
Support.
Yeah, like that's what you need from a friend. But I think then other external voices came in, and you're sort of, this,
So tell me what the voice sounded like to you.
Like every gig was like, I'll prep. So when I first started, I didn't know what to stand up. Like I wasn't like...
You didn't have a formula.
No, and I hadn't trained to, and I wasn't like someone who, Eddie Murphy Raw or Bernie Mac, like I loved a lot of Def Jam and that sort of stuff. But I wasn't going to the comedy felt at times quite middle class. It was weirdly seeing Mickey Flanagan I went to see him at the Backyard Club.
He is so funny.
He's so brilliant. And Mickey was the guy that I saw doing stand up, and I thought, oh, actually, wow, this is like, not like, because it sounds disrespectful to say, but I sort of thought, oh, fuck, he's talking about stuff that I talk about down the pub and we laugh about on the building site. He felt so.
Yes.
So
I know exactly what you mean.
So once I started, I'd write stuff and I'd learn stuff and whatever, but I'd enjoy it. And then all of a sudden it became more serious than that. And and people were like, and you need to write your material. And I don't know how, like, but when you're then trying out to do spots on television, they want to read your act, and I'd never written it down because
right, because you're freestyling.
Yeah, and also being dyslexic, so I then started like piling pressure on every gig, like you're talking about there. Every gig was like, and it didn't matter if it was like in front of 7 people in a pub or a tryout for something.
And what did that pressure feel like? Can you explain?
Like
physical,
not being able to eat that day, like literally, and just like
heart rate.
Yeah, heart rate up, anxiety, but also just constantly, like, I can't remember, there's a term for it, but thinking that I'm going to die. This is going to be the worst gig ever. Like, I'm going to absolutely, this is a moment that I'm going to get found out. This is the moment that when people...
that's a bit imposter syndrome.
Yeah, but this is a moment
I'm a complete fake.
Yeah, and...
everybody's going to realise today.
Yeah, and there'll be someone at the gig who just goes, well, you know what, he was all right for a little bit, but yeah, he's had his moment, So, and I just piled on pressure. And then that came at a time, and I suppose actually this predates Kathryn in a sense, actually, because that's where I was like, drinking like a lot. I was like in a situation.
Just want to explain to everybody, Kathryn's your wife.
Yeah, Kathryn's
yeah. So yes, so you were drinking a lot.
So I drink before a gig, I drink after a gig. Right. I'd numb the pain of how bad it was.
That was your anaesthetic.
Yeah, it was like going out, and also
but then did that affect your performance?
Always, and also as you're well aware, it affected the 2 or 3 days after of just feeling
of course,
like
depressed,
depressed, down. More anxious, and then so that happened on a Thursday, and Saturday you're out gigging again, and all you can really remember is you sort of like have this awful feeling of like, oh shit, like that one went so badly, or maybe it had gone a little bit better, but you had been drunk, and you go, oh, actually maybe if I just get drunk again, that'll
yes.
And it got to a point where Kathryn was like, you have no enjoyment from it. Like we've been together for a while, and I had no enjoyment from that side of stuff.
How long did it feel like that period went on for? How long was it like car crash?
For that, I think it was like, I think I went probably for about a year or two. It culminated in a lot of stuff where, I don't want to get too much into this, but the management I was with at the time was almost like, this isn't stand-up stuff. I felt like there's no one really believing in that.
No one had your back.
No, and also I just felt I was looking around at people who are friends and I adore, but I was like, wow, these people are so much better than me at this thing. And it was like I sort of was just like, I just felt that somewhere along the line, I'd lost who I was on stage. It's a really important thing. It's like the thing like when I watch you on...
is everything.
Not just confidence, but whenever I watch you on television, you're just unapologetically yourself, right? And that's the hardest thing to be. I think people completely I think it's the thing that why we all connect with Davina McCall. It's like, it's the moment from if you're sitting at home and you're watching you on television, you number one have that thing that you can't buy, is that you all automatically feel like that person in the pub, and that's the biggest compliment I could pay, that comes in and everyone chats and laughs with and has a joke. If that feels, and it's a thing for me that I don't think you can ever buy. I don't think you can buy the people at home going, I like that person and they're willing you to do well, but also for you always just to go like, this is who I am. That's a hard, and I was like going on stage and going, who am I? And I never had that. I was always like, right, I'm a guy from a building site. I can play the underdog. I'll be self-deprecating. Self-deprecation has been my thing since I can remember.
Me as well a bit.
Yeah.
I'd always just be like, I know I'm not the kind of raging beauty, and I know I'm not the...
why people love you.
Yeah, but that's why people love you. It's that same energy.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that you were doing that, but it wasn't giving you the feeling. But that's because I think you weren't surrounded by people who were believing in you.
No, and I still had...
It was like being back at school.
Yeah, and I still had James there, but then Kathryn was like, Kathryn's thing was like, this is making you so unhappy. Like you're not going out. I mean, and at the time I'd then been lucky enough to do a bit of acting and a bit of writing. And I was like, this is something that, if I'm honest with you, I was like, this feels something I'm not better at, but I just find my body tighten up as soon as I sort of went to go on stage. And then I tried to remember exactly what I should say, and that was never, when I look back at the stuff that I've made over the years, none of that is like the stuff that has been good. It was just, and I think I got so tightly wound, it was like, well, I'll probably lose my relationship if I carry on doing this. So she's not going to stay around because it was driving me to a point of
I mean, not mad. I don't mean mad, but it was like
but
you were struggling.
Madness to it.
Ladies, hey, come here. I have just found out a major secret, one that men have been keeping to themselves for far too long, and I'm here to blow the whistle on this entire operation. Creatine. that supplement that everybody says is just for the gym bros looking to bulk up. Well, it's actually for us, women. We tend to have 20 to 30% lower creatine stores than men, which is frankly rude. So supplementing can give us a real edge. I mean, think improved strength, better recovery, more sustained energy. And because life throws a few curveballs at us, like periods, postpartum, perimenopause, where energy, focus, resilience are key, our sponsor, Ancient and Brave, added taurine, vitamin D, and magnesium to their True Creatine Plus to help keep you, your energy, performance, and daily well-being in the best shape. Plus, their powder's tasteless, so you can just pop it in your water, tea, smoothie. But what set Ancient and Brave apart is their commitment to sustainability. They're a B Corp and members of 1% for the Planet, with 2% of their sales going directly to environmental causes. So if you'd like 20% off your first 3 subscription orders, go to ancientandbrave.earth/planet. This episode is in partnership with Airbnb.
Davina,
Yeah.
have you got any big travel plans this year?
Yes, I am. I'm going to see my daughter Tilly in Australia. She's out there being fabulous, and I'm here crying over photos from 2008. So I booked my flight, and then I thought, well, hold on a minute. My house is just going to sit there. So I actually decided to host it on Airbnb, and now I have a lovely couple coming to stay while I'm away, and it all happened super quick, and it was that simple. So now I'm going to get Tilly hugs, sunshine. I'm going to be bathing on Bondi Beach, or should I say Bondi Beach, and they'll get to play Davina for the week, which, let me tell you, is quite good fun. So I don't know, they might just turn up on Tuesday here and record if that's okay.
Okay.
So it's the first time I've hosted with Airbnb, but I'm really excited because I've been able to make my place available for the exact dates that suit me. I love that flexibility. Have you considered that your home might be worth more than you think? So find out how much at airbnb.co.uk/host.
COVID was like an awful time and terrible. It was kind of a game changer where I was like, I can sink here again, or I can get my life in some sort of order here.
So COVID was quite a big time for you where you thought,
Yeah.
actually, what was it about COVID that made you be able to think, oh my God, I might sink?
It's like a reset button, wasn't it? Number one, I was like, the first bit I was drinking a lot and I was really like...
When COVID hit you?
Yeah, because I'm a worker. Like, I feel blessed to do this for a job. Still now, I can't believe that this is what I do. And then all of a sudden, I'm like at home every day. And
Yes.
I'm like, I'll go into the office 5 days a week with James, like alongside gigging, acting, podcast, whatever else I'm doing. I'm in an office and I'm writing and we were coming up with new shows. I look at that as that's a day job. That's not like a luxury. That is my job, is to come up with shows, write shows, and pay the job the respect it deserves. And all of a sudden, it's just me and Kathryn at home, and we'd been through quite a tough time before that. And I don't think I'd really I got my head around a lot of stuff. We've been trying for a child for like 7 years, and we've been through a lot. And just before COVID, like literally the Christmas before, Kathryn had we was gone for some tests, and when you have to die, and run through your...
Oh, you mean through your ovaries, yeah. Your fallopian tubes, isn't it?
And then she'd sort of been feeling quite unwell afterwards and sort of been running a high temperature. And then she was sort of feeling ill, but she thought it was a flu or whatever. And then I got a call from my mum, and she was like, Kathryn's been rushed into hospital. And she was running such a high temperature, and
Wow.
you go in and you're like, I was in London, we're having a meeting, and it was like, dinner out type thing. And that's where I look at, and I was like, TV sort of fucking meeting when you're having a couple of drinks and you sort of, and I'd left that morning, she was like, feel a bit rough, I'm just going to have a sofa day. And then you're like, Mum, and she'd been rushed into hospital. So I get there and they're like, her temperature's really, really high. We don't know what it is. She's just so, and then, you're the next of kin and you're like, fuck, wow, okay, this is taking it. So all of a sudden you're like, shit, okay. And then literally went from there to sort of went home that night. She was there, they kept her in. They were like, you can't stay. So, she was on a like women's ward, so you go home and all of a sudden every thought in your head is like racing of like, fuck, what is this thing? This is like, what's happened here? Like, she was like, it was,
Fine this
December.
morning. Yeah.
She has a bit of a cold, felt a bit unwell, but that was, things were going around. And then, so I went in the next day and then she was sort of becoming more and more unwell. And you're like, fuck, this isn't,
They still haven't found out what it was?
No, and then it was literally like, there was like an amazing nurse, I'll get onto that in a bit, who was really like with her all the time. And then she'd said that she'd been in for these tests. And then they, basically some of the dye got caught and basically got infected. So she was in like early stages of like a sort of like septic sort of
shock.
Yeah. So they drained that and literally she started, getting better. And then we were sort of but that's when we were sort of told, they're like, you wouldn't be able to carry children anymore. And you're like, shit, this is like literally I think 2 days before Christmas Eve.
No.
So you sort of like, and then she got released to come out on Christmas Eve. And you're sort of like, there's a air of you that's so thankful that she's alive and she's made it. But then also
Christmas must have been awful.
Yeah, and it was, but then like I remember at the time just thinking, because she was so ill. Like when I say like, and it was really sad because we haven't brought any Christmas presents. You haven't wrapped anything, and like, but you're like, wow, like she's still here, and that's if I'm honest, she's like alongside James, someone that I look at and think has had, I don't know what I'd have done or where I'd be without her, and that it was a very real prospect that might be something.
Yes.
So you sort of get through Christmas, and then and then I did that thing that I think now I look back, and it was like I just threw myself back into work. I was just like, right, work, and then like I suppose it was March, wasn't it, where COVID then kicked in.
Yes.
And all of a sudden,
God, that's a lot.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, and in your head, you're like, you're not really dealing with that sort of thing. You're not dealing with that stuff. You're sort of like, okay, and we talked about it, but we didn't. We're just both like, well, you're sort of all right. And I think, and I should say as well, because it's such a, when you've been on we tried for kids for ages and just it never gone our way.
So it was all through your 30s, basically.
Yeah, and most of the predominant time together that we've been through, and you sort of have this weird thing of being like, when you hear people are having children and you've tried really hard, it's why I'm really, really conscious. I always try not to, like, you have this weird thing where you're really happy for them because it's a miracle, but also you constantly going, why is this not happening for us?
Yes.
And it's now I'm really always conscious of that because above anything else in the world as a dad, that's the thing. For a while there, I was like, this isn't going to happen for me. That's and it's all I ever really wanted to be.
Really?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a dad. I always thought I'd be pretty good. Like, if I'm going to be honest with you, Davina, a lot of things I look at in life and think, I've been lucky, or as a dad, and I've always thought, no, that's something I actually be pretty good at.
And you are, from what I hear.
I hope so. I hope so.
Kathryn would say that you are. Grace would say that you are, right?
Yeah, I hope so. But we then COVID hit in, and we lived at the time outside London. We lived quite a long way from family. We quite a bit closer to her family, not to mine. Not so close to my friends. So our bubble was each other, really, and our dog at the time.
It was very isolating, wasn't it? Are you quite an extrovert person? Do you like people?
I do to an extent, but I've less so now. Not less so, but now.
So now.
No,
I hate people.
No, but I still love people. I love it. But I think this job takes a little bit of that sometimes.
Yes, that's interesting.
I think like now. Also, at 46, I look at it now, and I treasure the people that I have in my life that I know are there for all the right reasons.
Yes.
And I know that. And that's, I guess, the thing that when we're together in lockdown, it's like, oh shit, it's just the two of us in the house. I haven't got work at the moment to throw myself. We had bits, but it was like a lot, And then those walks every morning with the dog, where it's just two of us, became like the biggest blessing because you start talking about stuff and you start opening up and you reconnect, and there's that. And I think like one of the big things about being married and being in a relationship over, we're 12 years in now, is what you realise is at times that connection does falter, but at times, that, and I think it's really easy at times to think that that's like, that thing where you just go like that a little bit is like, there's that magnet is broken. You like, you can drift a little bit, as.
Do you know what I call it?
No one.
you feel like an island.
Yes, you do.
And then you form an archipelago.
Yeah.
And you build a bridge.
Beautiful word.
And you got a bridge between the two of you. And then at some point, the bridge falls down.
Yeah.
And you go off and you're on an island for a little bit. And you think, oh, I feel so alone.
Yeah.
And quite like it.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, no, I need...
Yeah, and then you come back together. It's beautiful.
I think it's... that's real love.
And you always
to
know
have
that
the space to go and come back.
But that was really important that we built that archipelago.
Archipelago.
I don't think
That's okay.
But we then had lots of time to talk about how we felt, about feelings, about where we were at, and
oh my God, that is so helpful.
And it was kind of lovely. And so then I just was like, I'd sort of just gone like the side of me that was just like the drinking, the sort of like, in a sense, been playing this character for sort of a long, long time of like, the guy to go to, like, stag do's or great to go to the football with.
Yes, good time.
Good time guy to be around. I was a good person to be around if you were in a pub and you would really get drunk. And literally, I could bump into someone and James would joke that I could literally go into a pub and come out and go, this is my daughter does it now, she's 3, this is my new best friend. But I'd go to work and James would go, I'd be like, I was out last night, who with? And I'd be like, I don't know, Terry and Mark. Who's Terry and Mark? They're fucking great guys.
Great guys.
Bumped into them in a Weatherspoons and like literally they were at my wedding. That's what James's, as my best man, James's joke was like, there's people here that Tom's met on a bus that fucking...
Wait, there's someone there that you married that you met in Nando's.
Yes. Which is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It was my favourite thing in your entire biography. I was like, he met his wife in Nando's. It's the greatest thing ever. I want to talk to you about that a bit later, but I want to finish.
Yeah. So anyway.
About lockdown.
So I sort of made this and I was like 24 stone. I drank a lot, and I was like,
you were 24 stone.
Yeah, and I was just like, I look at it now and think, like, I sort of lost a lot of. That sort of self-worth in a sense, and that's not as like just as myself, and just thinking, oh, that's kind of just who I should be now.
Yes.
And
it's who I am.
Yeah, and actually just thinking, no, actually, and I suppose it's like that. Death is a weird thing, right? I've been through it quite recently with my cousin, and I've never really talked about this, but when I was like 16, my dad had an accident where he nearly passed away. It was like he was underneath a car, working on a car, and the car slipped from the thing and fell on him and crushed his head, and the only person they could get hold of at the time was me. So I ended up going to hospital and walking in on my dad just as he was being wheeled in. And then going then to what happened with Kathryn, it was like this weird thing. And I'm very acutely aware, and I talked to my parents, I talked to Kathryn about this, that I carry a lot of stuff that I know I haven't dealt with. Like I've had quite a considerable amount of therapy because I think it's a really important thing to have.
Yes.
But I know that's so I look even now when I talk about my cousin, and even like, it's really a weird thing. Like I remember, like it was her funeral 2 weeks ago. And I remember sitting.
Oh man,
just
I'm really
2 weeks
sorry.
ago. Yeah. It's like awful, like terrible. And she was like a very like incredible sort of human being. My mum was in fits of tears, and my sister and Kathryn, and but I looked at all the men in the room, and like none of us from that did. Like I had a tear, but I was like, I wanted to really let that out. And even as someone, I think I'm pretty open with my emotion. I was like, I don't seem to be, and I think that thing.
You're not in touch with it?
Yeah, I think, or just I can't. I guess there's a fear in a sense of once you let that open.
Yes.
Will it close again?
Oh my God.
Will you be able to will it just pour out?
I have the same thing.
Yeah, and
like a total fear of like, fuck. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot. But if I
people, by the way, come watch me just stand up and go, you swear a lot. I'm like, I'm at fucking scaffolder with no education. What do you expect?
I'm not though. No. I tell people not to swear for 10 years. But I am always quite scared of, if I start, is this going to be an unstoppable flow? But that's not a reason not to start. And after I'd had my operation, I cried every day, at least 2 or 3 times a day, with gratitude for being alive.
Yeah,
I just couldn't.
I
just wonder at that. And I was kind of just laughing, crying, like all the time, like I couldn't believe it. And it was slightly.
Had you be like that?
I cried, but it wasn't like that. But I knew that if I didn't get that out in some way later, it would punish me.
It's a strange thing because, there's a moment, there's times, even now, I feel this, you can feel it here, right? You feel the thing of like, oh shit, I'm not, I'm not letting that go. And that dealing with death and dealing with things. And I think, but also I think I was talking about
We were talking
alcohol.
about death. I'd like to ask you quickly about alcohol.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm sober. Are you sober? Is it something where you were like, right, I'm stopping everything? Or did you just know I've got to cut back?
So during COVID was like, I need to just sort out how I'm living my life a bit. Like I can't eat burgers every day and like takeaways 4 or 5 times a week because I literally at that point couldn't because they weren't open.
That's a real begin again. I just want to say, I want to say, because this is like a big thing. There's loads of things here where I can see you have made a conscious decision. Right, okay, I'm going to do something.
This is a rebirth.
But being reborn during COVID, I think quite a few people will identify with that. But anybody that is living, there's so much online. You know when you're not leading a healthy life for you.
Yeah.
You know all of the things that we should be doing or could be doing to help ourselves feel better, but you did it.
Yeah, but also I think that was down to COVID. I wasn't like I'm going to become sober over COVID. I still had a drink here, but then what had happened? We'd been told that we couldn't have a job, like that wasn't going to happen. And then during lockdown, the nurse who'd been with Kathryn the whole time, through that, she got in touch and she was like, "Look, I don't know if you've looked." At surrogacy, she was there when she found out. She to this day is one of the most incredible people. And
is she still a friend?
Yeah. And someone that's just such a special human and like completely restored your faith in humanity.
Yes.
And she was like, I'm like, look, if you've ever thought about surrogacy, and we hadn't really thought about it at the time.
And are you what you're saying is she actually offered herself
and then
as a surrogate.
So she was like, I've thought about doing it for a while, and she had children and. Incredible lady, and so we went and met her in a park because you had to meet outside, and then we were like, let's all try and give this a go. And all of a sudden this little hope kicks into your life, and the big eye-opener for me is that we then got out of lockdown, and it was a bit like I sort of slipped into, we had the big football tournament, I went to every game, I was like back drinking, but I was enjoying it less and less, and we were going through all this stuff and it was quite stressful, and I came out the back of that, and then I remember going to get checkups and stuff. Men's sort of role in that is very small compared to the women. The IVF is like injections, it's very intrusive. We've just literally got to go and knock one out in a room. It's sort of, I tried to give that as much like, oh yeah, God, this is the biggest wank I'll ever have.
The most important.
Yeah, this is my World Cup final. But we went, and then I remember literally getting on, like, they did a health check, and I got on some scales, and this woman was like, you're seriously obese. And it was that moment of going, oh shit, okay, right, okay. And my weight had gone up again. And I was just like, and she was like, if you're going to have a kid, you're sort of getting on now a little bit. You don't want to be that unhealthy.
So you were in your 40s.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh shit, this isn't just really about me anymore. And then, so within the next Christmas, we started the journey of the IVF and the surrogacy.
I really want to ask you about Kathryn, because you said something about her. I love her.
Yeah.
Already. Like, yeah. I everything you say about her is making me like her more and more.
She's a very amazing human. Yeah,
She gave you a lot of reign. Like, to do what you wanted.
Yeah,
go love the football, because I know you love the football.
Yeah.
Do you think that really helped you make your own decision? She wasn't moaning at you, going,
oh, no, but...
oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, like, we've got to have a baby.
I should say the moment I knew that I was, like, I loved them on it, like, was she, like, I remember being out at a party when we were first together, and she just moved to London, and I got home and it was like 7 a.m. and she was getting ready to go to work, and I was like, I walked in and she just gave me a look, and I went, oh, sorry. She went, don't say sorry, but just so you know, I'm not a mug, and if you do that again, I won't be here when you get back. And I never did that. I was like, okay, cool, I know what made,
well, she gave you a boundary.
Yeah, and from there I was like, don't get me wrong, I still went drank, but she was like, don't take the piss out of me, and then what I love about
was
and
that
my mum,
it?
Yeah, that,
like she just said a bit.
Yeah, there was no like.
She didn't punish you.
No. There was no like. That was
Great.
it. She was like, I'm not here to. And my mum said about her very early on. She was like, but you need that. and that it is like, that is there. I was like, oh, this is the match really I need in my life. This is the thing that, and I think
she's going to be good for me.
Yeah, and you endeavour to keep each other happy and become a good team. It's a very interesting, and then when you go through something like surrogacy and go through a lot of the stuff that we've been through like having no money and all that stuff early on in my career, and her support of me working 3 jobs so I could go and do stand-up and follow my dreams, and then hopefully give her like, that back of going like, because then she was doing jobs she hated, and I was like, well, what do you want to do? And she was like, I've always wanted to be a seamstress. So she went to London School of like college of, I don't know, it's King's College, and she was like learning there to become a seamstress.
Brilliant.
So she went and she now does that. So she does the thing she wants to do. I do that, but that's all through supporting each other.
You've supported each other
as a team
in your journeys.
And I think so when it came to like becoming a dad, and after all that, I was like, you know what, like when you talk about beginning again, I was like, Grace being born is going to be the thing that has certain elements of me has to change. Like Kathryn's fine with me going out and having a drink and all that and getting in at 2 a.m, but am I fine with like my hangovers will get harder? And I was like, I feel so blessed to be becoming a dad. I don't want any wasted mornings. I don't want wasted time where I'm like not getting up and playing with my daughter. Like in what we do, like I can be away for like 2 or 3 weeks. So every morning that I get up and I'm like Grace in bed with us and I'm messing around with her and you're playing with her toys or whatever, that's a blessing. That's a blessing I never thought I'd have. So that was like, I have to treat that with the respect it's deserved. And that part of me now, that's the thing I had to get rid of. That's the thing, because I need to be fitter, I need to be healthier, and I make all the wrong choices when I'm drunk, and I make all the wrong choices when I'm hungover.
Yeah.
So the obsession, and also something clicked in my head of like going, at that time as well, my godmother, and she was like one of the most important people in my life. She's an amazing person. She taught me how to read. She was one of the people, along with my mum, she was like a teacher. She was an incredible human being. She was probably the kindest person I've ever known in my life.
Wow.
And had an awful, like one of the worst, like cancer, just boom, and like you wiped her out, and it was terrible. And she's lucky enough she got to meet Grace, and that's the thing that I'm so happy for.
So pleased.
But I look at that and I thought, I have to go back to stand up as well. I had to, because I put such a demon, and along with Flo being like, you can do this, but just be you again.
But sort of in a funny kind of way for her.
Yeah, for Grace, for me going, it's not life and death this. And that's what it was before. It was every time I stepped on stage, it was like, so-and-so might be there. This might be the last gig. I might not be good enough tonight.
I'm interested in, but for anybody that's got a bit of anxiety, or anybody that would be looking to do the thing they've always wanted to do and they're too scared to go for it. Like, and you just said, I didn't feel like that anymore. I didn't feel like it was life or death. But how? What do you think it was in your life that changed
because I think,
all of
like,
that?
Ultimately, becoming a dad was like the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. And I like...
Nothing else mattered.
Yeah, but also in a weird way of going, like the amount of pressure that I'd put on this thing, but I really loved. Like I love stand up. I loved that it gave me the chance to do what I do now. But I didn't really, and it's in a weird way, I didn't want to have something sitting on my back for the rest of my life that was something I was scared of. I was like, that's just sitting here all the time, and I know I can do it. I know, So I was like, that became the thing that I was like, I'm going to go and try. And it was a bit insane because I'm then having a child and I'm going back to doing...
I mean, there's a lot going on there, right? Can I just quickly ask you, what was the first gig back like, and how did you feel after it?
It was like, I'd literally turned up. I'd done some warm-ups for Romesh, and Romesh was like, he was getting ready for a massive tour, and I was just I was doing 10 minutes at the top, and Romesh was like, fuck, so this has become very much about you. Romesh was a big driver in me going back on stage, and as was Flo from Off the Curb, but it was like, I went up with very little in my head apart from, right, let's just try this, and this. And it went well, and that moment you're like, oh shit, this feels like that. I feel that person again that I felt when I started, and felt like an overwhelming feeling of like just relief. Like, oh shit, I can do this again, but loved it. And then subsequently from that, it's become the thing that I adore. I love doing, And from the moment, like then Kathryn had come to see me at this gig in front of like 8 people in Brighton, and it had gone really, really badly. And it was awful. And she never came to watch me. So when she came to watch me at the O2 on the tour, and like I've never been so nervous to have anyone in the audience. I was fucking, one, because I love her. Also, I had a lot of material about her, Davina. I wasn't too sure how she'd feel about it. So she came with friends. She's there in the audience. She's like, "Good luck, babe," and all that. And I'm like, "All right, this one's for her. I'm gonna smash this." Yeah. And then get to the interval, I come off stage and I'm like saying to Flo, like, "Did you see Kathryn? Was she laughing?" She was like, "I didn't see her." And then I'm like, I'm text Kathryn, I was like, "You okay?" And she didn't text back.
No answer.
And then I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh no."
She hates it.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, she's not enjoyed this. She's fucking not enjoyed it. And then, and it's like, literally got to, like 20-minute interval, and like, it's like 18 minutes. Flo's like, she'll be fine. So you've got to go out and, like, that's the bulk of the show. Then I've got to go and do an hour. And I'm like, and then, Antonia, who's like amazing, big part of the team, came in, and she's like, I just saw Kathryn at the bar. She's having a right laugh with mates, and she was on the rosé. And then she texted me just as I was getting ready to go, and she went, "That was amazing. I'm so proud of you." And then you're like, boom, and then went out and it was so much fun. But like that moment of having her there for that journey, that like her support, everything that she gives me is it's a really like,
so nice.
Yeah, it was an incredible thing to have that her there. And now it's like, she's been to a few more, but and like, it's an amazing thing of like when you're, I've got amazing pictures now where Grace has been to shows, and she's before the show come and held the mic. I mean, she's a little before. I don't know how you have. I look at Grace, I'm like, I've got mates who are sports people, and they talk about their kids. Oh, you might have to think, well, look at Grace sometimes, and she's like a little performer. She's there's something in, like James said it really early on. Went to England. We're all filming out in Gran Canaria, and went to this bar to watch England, and Grace is in this bar, and she's like, it's a really boring game. It's 0-0. And Grace starts doing this. I can't remember what it was. It was like they're making the sounds, the horns.
Oh, yeah.
Pretending she's doing a horn. And all these England fans start laughing. And then
She loved
does
it.
Over and over. And she's like, James was like, she knows that what she's doing
It's funny, and it's
yes. And she's
got that thing.
Yeah. And you're like, oh God, no. Because she'd be a Nepo baby. But it's a beautiful thing to see. Like, and also, I mean, she's a very sassy little thing. It's my favourite thing. She's got a bit about her, which I worry about.
But I think that's character.
Yeah.
And that's confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what you've given her. But I also just would like to talk to you a bit about...
This is, by the way, such a lovely... I just feel like another one, 2 people have... You have ADHD?
No? But I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
probably.
only got diagnosed late.
Like,
this feels
I would say...
This feels so... I literally have got no idea where we're going to go to next. It feels like the perfect... Like, for 2 sober people, this is like probably the closest I've been to having a beer and a chat in a long time.
So are you drinking at all?
No.
Now?
Like, I might...
So you're not like AA.
No,
but you really don't drink.
No, but also I knew that, like, there was a lot of different reasons. There was a lot of different sort of like becoming very acutely aware of what anxiety was, how my mental health would be derailed from alcohol,
right?
From like poor decision making, or just sometimes not being a person you want to be. Yeah. So I went to meetings, but for me it was like going, I'm just going to try this like this way for the moment. I've had like a couple of times where I've had like we went on like a lads weekend, and the first night there I sort of peer pressure got to me, and I had a few beers, and I actually felt that was probably the lowest point of it, and I hated myself for having beers, and everyone around, and I got sort of bullied because there was a sort of thing that everyone else around me seemed to be like, why aren't you? And almost like they felt offended by the fact I wouldn't have a drink.
Oh my God, I have that all the time.
And then I sort of fell into this thing of going, oh, maybe I'll have a couple of beers. And then just having this sort of waking up the next morning, just hating myself for it and not liking the person. And then just thinking, actually, I'm strong. And that's the thing that for me is like, I notice that there's a difference when you talk about how beginning again. I looked at from moments like that of going, I'm not going to sink by this. I know where I'm at, and there's a strength about me now that, as a dad, because it's not really about me anymore. It's about her, and it's about my wife. That's everything. So I wake up the next morning from there, and I'm like, well, you know what? I've let myself down. kind of let them down a bit because I didn't want to do that. But it just means
about
today
you.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to drink.
And it's just that
and then
day.
for the rest of the
Yeah.
time, you know, as boring as it sounds, they would all go out. We'd go out for dinners. I'd play golf. They'd all then go out to a bar, and I'd come home and I'd watch Gary Neville on the Overlap.
Yeah.
Watch
I mean,
podcasts.
great. I know what I'd rather do.
Yeah, but from there, and then weirdly, what I realised is that, like, I did a thing called 1,000 Blows. Stephen Graham is one of my favourite people in the world, and Stephen was really like one of the most incredible. He's become a bit of a mentor, I guess, in a way. And speaking to someone like Stephen and other people and just feeling like, okay, you know what, there's a lot of people like, you know, Eddie Hearn. I saw Eddie the other week at the boxing, and Eddie's like, you know, he's not drinking. And you go, actually, you know, the stigma around it.
People getting stuff done.
Yeah,
drinking.
yeah. And that, how to work at what I'm doing now. And you know, we've launched, like, me and Kathryn have launched like a protein and a electrolyte brand. And you're like, you do, because we wanted to do something together. My personal trainer and I was like, this feels like I'm obsessed with, like, so the fitness thing became an obsession. I was 24 stone. I'm like 18 and a half now. It's like, but training is like, I adore. Yeah. It's not like, I don't look at it as like, and also Kathryn, like, it's a non-negotiable now.
Yeah.
It's like my mental health. If I get up, I cold plunge.
Me too.
Every
I don't
morning.
cold plunge, but I work out.
Yeah, I see
it. Makes me feel
I
so
love it.
good.
It's literally, you know, that thing where you look at it, I get so excited even by the thought. Like, I'll look at training things and go, I can't wait to do this tomorrow.
Nobody
yeah.
thinks like that.
No,
it's so funny.
No, but you know, like, how you used to be like, I'm going to go to a pub.
So good.
And I feel invigorated, and I feel like this morning, and so the days where, like, you go, oh, I can't be bothered to, like, I was in bed with Grace this morning. Kathryn got up, went for a run. Me and Grace are sort of sitting watching cartoon, and then Kathryn comes in, and she's like, go and get it done. So you're getting a cold plunge for 2 minutes.
Kathryn.
Then I get a weighted vest on, and then I get on the treadmill for a minute, sweat it out, and then you feel like the days might. And I think that's the thing of, like, and then you feel stronger. You feel like you're doing things that you don't sometimes want to do, but you enjoy.
You feel good about yourself.
Yeah. And that leads me into, so when it comes to that, when it comes to the stigma I have around that, like, Kathryn still drinks. She's never been a big drinker. That's not for her, but she'll still, like, have wines and what. I just don't feel the need to, and I'm more like that thing. Like, I carried again, like, you know, like you're saying about when I went away. I look at it now and think, I don't feel the need to sort of. It's on other people if they find it uncomfortable.
Yes.
I'm not drinking. It's like I'm still very
Become
affable.
a bit more confident with it, I think, about saying, look, I used to say I was allergic to alcohol because I got so much pressure. I just used to think it's easier for me to say I'm allergic to it. But now I just go, I just don't drink like it. And I feel fine with that. I want to finish on one last thing.
Go.
I've really enjoyed this. I've forgotten the times that we were filming something.
And also, like, but also I feel like we didn't really stop between sitting down and
we didn't take a breath.
No,
it was great.
Amazing.
I want to ask you, like, if somebody, because what I'm getting from you is that you are always willing to look at yourself and how can I help myself be happier?
Yeah.
Or more content with life? What do I need to do? Who do I need by my side? And I would like to ask you, for anybody that's had the kind of life that you've had, like, what have you been through that has been the most useful for you in your life?
I think having knocks along the way. I think and that is the thing that I have an armor. I think, like, like now, don't get me wrong. Like, there's still things where I go up for a part that I won't get, and it will hurt. But there's a resilience to me. I look at people who are around me when I started out as a stand-up, who are infinitely, I think, probably more talented at times, but and that talent, I grew into myself. I grew into what I am now. Yes. I think I apologized a lot for.
You didn't feel like you deserved a place
I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt for a long time, and that was on me. There's actually really decent people where I look at and think I probably carried a bit of a chip on my shoulder, or a bit of a thinking I wasn't good enough because that had been told talked to me for a long time. So I
You've
probably
been told it a lot.
prejudged people and what they thought about me and got that
Right.
wrong on a number of occasions in this industry. You know, that weird thing when you realise actually, there's more people that have my back in this than I thought. And I think the interesting thing about that, I think you have to you have to be ready to change. You have to be like, there's things where I look at and go, I tried to do that thing years ago and I just wasn't ready for that.
Right.
But also,
How do you become ready?
there's a side of you that has to, how I'll get into this segue, but I've really been unkind to myself. I look at that and I've been like my own harshest critic for a lot. You know,
Do you regret that?
Yeah. I look at it now. It's a really weird thing. We're doing this the day after the BAFTAs, right? And I sit there and like, I watch the winners there, and I've done that. And I remember the day of doing it and still not it feeling real. I was still feeling almost apologetic for the fact that we won a BAFTA, and still like not feeling like I was a part of that world in a sense. Still feeling like very much that. And I don't think I enjoyed it as much as now when I watch and I realise, you know, at the time I think I was so face up against the wall, just thinking like it didn't kind of feel real, and it didn't feel. Even now when I talk about that as a thing, it's like I still make it a joke, or I still like, you know. And I think I for a long time felt, you know, I talk about luck because luck is very important.
Yes.
There's you know that yourself.
But you have to take advantage of the luck.
Not just
like
advantage
sometimes
of the luck.
luck slaps you in the face and that you
also,
ignore
you
it.
have to at some point go, well, maybe I'm actually not too bad at this thing that I do. Maybe there is some sort of talent here.
Yeah.
But I think, my thing with it all is just that you're a long time dead. And I think that you know, I think Matthew McConaughey said, you don't really want to be lying on your death. Denzel Washington said it, surrounded by the regrets of the things you didn't do.
Oh,
And I look at the steps
that's so
I've
good
made in life. And
yes.
I think there's been things that I've got, you know, I've just, you know, you do your first drama, you do, you know, different things, and not being scared of failure, and not being scared, and try and tell young people that, because we live in a very different time now, and it's a scary time.
So different
and
for young
trying to tell young people, don't be scared of failure, don't be scared of not getting that job, because that something will go right. You know, again, Denzel Washington, if you hang around a barber shop long enough, someone will give you a haircut.
Have you met him?
No, one day.
One day. Listen, I wanted to show you this because you just said it's the book that changed your life.
Yeah.
Why did it change your life?
There's a passage in it where he was working. So he's like he'd been my comedy idol. I think he's talking about COVID. One of the low points of COVID, I was meant to go to. He was doing a launch of his paintings in Glasgow. I was meant to go to Glasgow and meet him, and I didn't get to go. So it's heartbreaking because that's the. But then there's a weird thing.
Have you met him since?
No, but there's a weird thing with Billy that I look at as like he's like a guy, you know, weird. It's such an insane thing to say about someone you've never met, but everyone carries him. But when I look at what, like the writing and stuff, and my style of everything I've done, I look at Billy and think like from when he was on the shipyard. So there's a passage in a book. So my mum bought me this book years ago, and there's a passage in it where he's talking about going professional as a comedian. And he's at the shipyards, and he turns around to someone and he says, that, you know, they say, when are you going to go professional? When are you going to sort of give all this up? And he said, I'll probably do it next year. And they say, well, you won't. You'll never do it, because next year will come the year after, and then the year after, and the year after. And there's nothing worse than being an old man in a shipyard thinking, what could have been?
Yes.
And I never had anyone really on the scaffold site tell me that, but that was enough for me to go, you know what, I need to. And at that point, I was doing open mics, I was getting paid a bit here and I made that leap. And so that book changed my life, and the basis of like giving it,
So, we may have spoken to Kathryn.
Oh, God.
And Kathryn wrote something in here. I'm going to read it out loud to you because I want you to enjoy it. So, dear Tom, what a ride it's been since that Friday in Nando's. To say I'm so glad we met is just not enough. You made me feel like this is my fairy tale. You are the kindest human and always make people smile and laugh with your unique sense of humour. Grace is such a lucky girl to have you as her daddy, and she will be your biggest fan when she's old enough to watch you. I can't wait for what's to come for you in this crazy career, but we will be right beside you. Love always, Kathryn and Grace.
Wow. Very sweet. Oh, bless.
Isn't that lovely?
That's very lovely. Yeah. Yeah.
We will be right beside
That's very
you.
nice. I wasn't expecting it. So yeah, it's very It is the thing, right? It's coming together. It's the past and the present.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. That's very kind.
We love you. Thank you so much. You are amazing.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.